What? Why? Ah! Seriously? Okay, so Eventide is gonna make me buy another EQ plugin. In this week's Plugin of the Week, let's jump in. I'm actually really disappointed with you, Eventide, because you made a plugin that is an EQ plugin that I actually want really badly. And it's pretty revolutionary, actually. And it's a cool idea and concept. It's called the Split EQ. It's brand new. It's got some crazy stuff going on that no other EQ I've ever seen does. So basically what they did is they split between the transients and the tonal characters of what an EQ does, which I think is really, really dope. Basically, when you go to the EQ curve here, you have a green and a blue, right? And when you start to pull them, you can see that they split apart. That's where the split EQ comes into play. The transient is going to EQ the transient information. The tonal is going to shape the tonal information. You could sort of think of this as like the transient versus the sustain of anything. Kick drums, 808s, pads, synthesizers, whatever you're working with. So let's give this a shot on this beat. Just a track I'm working on. I want to listen to it. I want to start hitting these drums with this plugin, okay?
I find myself alone with you. I cannot help but feel this bitter too. And now I'm picking up the pieces that are falling on the ground, that are falling down. I'm picking up the pieces that are falling on the ground. Yeah, they're falling down.
Okay, so let's hone in on those drums. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna solo out the drums. I'm gonna show you what this plugin is doing. And typically I'll make a drum bus, like a drum mix bus. I'll compress, I'll EQ, maybe I'll transient shape, etc. And this kind of does all that. But there's also one other thing I want to show you that it does really cool. It actually has a mid-side panning kind of vibe to it. So you can literally go in here and you can pan the transients and the tonal shapes different ways. So for example, let's say I wanted to take the green, which is the transient. Remember, I'm affecting the transient information. And I wanted to bring in that 1K of the drums. But I wanted it to be more centered, right? I want that kick drum, the kick and the snare to be punchy and the transients to be lively, but I want them in the center of the mix. I can come in here on the transient and I can take this pan and I can pan it. So basically I can go tighter in the middle or I can go tighter to the sides, right? So here's where you kind of get that idea. You can also widen it. So I can see here if I'm widening this out, I can make my drums maybe more beefy in the middle, right? Maybe the kick drum. So for example, let's say this is band 1 and I want to beef up that kick drum. Let's take the tonal shape because that's going to be more of like the resonant of the kick drum, the woo, you know, the sub kind of stuff. Let's say I want to just kind of get down there in that 50 hertz and below. I can go now to the tonal panning thing here and I can widen it out. So now I can widen my low frequencies of the kick to give it kind of like a wide platform at the bottom. Or I can get it really tight. I could say, I want it tight. You know, I want it to be really defined in the middle. So let's just hear what this does with the drum solo. Now, hopefully you can hear that if you're listening on good enough headphones or low monitors, you'll hear that it's getting that thud. When I start to put it in the center, you really feel it. It starts to whoop, 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 whoop. But when I go wide, you kind of lose the low end. You lose that like that feeling in the bottom there. So let's try this with the transient now. Let's just see the difference. Let's take the blue one down, which is going to be our tonal. Now to my ears, I'm starting to hear sort of that FL Studio bounce, right? Where it starts to soft clip a little bit. And that's because we're taking the transient information on the bottom and we're putting it center and we're boosting the transient information, but we're not boosting the actual tonal qualities. So we're not getting like the woof, woof, the woofiness that would cause. You could take this even to a more extreme case with these drums, and you could take this one, which is the tonal. Remember, it's going to be more of like the DSR of like an ADSR, right? So this one, think of it as the attack, and then the one is gonna, and the blue one, so the green is gonna be the attack and the transients, and then the blue one is gonna be more of the woof of the sustain and the release, right? So it's gonna be the woo, woo, the things that are kind of holding out. So just listen to this, and we're really gonna make this just punchy and just sound soft clipped like crazy.
Falling down. I find myself alone with you. I cannot help but feel this bitter too. And now I'm picking.
Now this is just one example of how this EQ can really help you kind of shape shift and shape your sounds, right? What I'm doing here is I'm really getting it to knock. I'm getting the drums to knock and that bottom to come in, but it's not taking up all the sub frequencies, right? So it's not taking over what the sub is doing or the 808 is doing. And you can go even further by taking this one, the tonal shaping, and maybe turning that into a high pass frequency, right? So you can turn this into a high pass. So basically you got or even a low shelf, high shelf, tilt shelf. This is really cool, right? So I can literally tilt the frequencies, which is really dope. So very powerful EQ plugin. If you really want to get into, you know, even more of this, you know, you got transient separation where you can go 50% to 100%. I mean, 10% it looks like is where it starts. No, 0, all the way to 100%. You got a decay. So I'm imagining you get more decay on the transients. So it's not so tight. So it's kind of like a transient shaper built into an EQ and those working together, which is a really powerful way of shaping tones. So you guys, if you like this, share it with someone. Also drop a comment, smash the like button, see what you think about it. You know, start using it on drums, use it on vocals. I imagine you can DS vocals really well with the transient shaper, right? So anything that's going t, you can like take that area out of that 5K, that 8K where you're getting the T's and the S's and the P's. You can just take the transient stuff out with the EQ and the transient, and you could keep that tonal stuff in with the EQ. So really, really powerful. I'm going to dive in deeper and I'm just going to go crazy with this EQ. I hope you guys do the same. See you later.